Yeah, we're live.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, Council, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Is there any conflict of interest tonight amongst council members? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go right to Rob on the closed meeting report. Go ahead, Rob.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just would like to report an open session that council met earlier, council met electronically earlier in closed session, as permitted during a time of declared emergency by sections 238 and 239 of the Municipal Act. At this meeting, council received an update on labor negotiations as it relates to Town of Essex unionized staff and QP 702.3. And at this meeting, council gave direction for admin to present a bylaw for council's consideration in open session tonight, which bylaw would be to consider the approval of a new 2020 collective agreement between the town and the town's employees belonging to QP. And that's the extent of my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions from council on that one? Seeing none, we'll go right into the adoption of the published agenda tonight. I need a mover for that, please. Councillor Verbeek and Councillor Bowman. All in favor?
Sure.
It's carried. Thank you.
Oh, my apologies. Through you, Mr. Mayor. My apologies. I believe we did receive notice of motion from Councillor Bondy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll
that
go back
could be added to the adopted agenda for presentment under item 15 of the agenda.
Sure. Thank you. You can go ahead.
Okay. Item 5 on the agenda, 5.1, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held April 20th, 2020 be adopted as circulated.
Have a mover, please. Councillor Bowman and Deputy Mayor Meloche. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
5.2 on this evening's agenda, that the minutes of the special council meeting held May 16th. Sorry, the special council meeting held May 16th for the purposes of updating council on the town of Essex in March. My apologies, that the minutes of the special council meeting held March 16th for the purposes of updating council on the town's response to COVID-19 be adopted as circulated.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Bowman and Councillor Garon. Any questions? Councillor Denonville, you had a question? No? All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Under reports this evening, item 8.1 is the Chief Administrative Officer verbal report on COVID-19.
Go ahead, Chris, when you're ready.
Sure. Thank you. Through your worship. So there's a few topics I want to touch on tonight quickly in the update section here. Number one being the province's first stage in reopening, which started today, and how that impacts us as a municipality. Really doesn't change much on the way we're currently doing business. What it does, I guess, our impact in our municipality, the biggest is we're allowed to start preparing the marina to be open. We don't know when it's going to be open. We don't know what that future looks like. I'm assuming it's going to be in the next short if they're allowing us to prepare. So we're getting ready to do that. There has been some discussions as far as discrepancy in other municipalities, boat ramps being open and not being open. So in discussions with those CAOs, in particular with Chatham-Kent, they do have boat ramps that are open that aren't contained within a marina. Any boat ramps that are contained within the marina, they're closed because the marina is closed. So those are some of the differences you're hearing. So on our end, from a staffing point of view, we're getting prepped. We're starting those preparations to have that marina open so that when the province says that we can open, we will do that. With respect to other essential construction projects for municipalities, the ones we had on the go anyways were infrastructure projects and health and safety. So there's really no impact to the way we're doing business that way. As far as facilities goes, we're continuing to create our facility separations. We're looking at enhancing it even more, creating some openings at the Essex Shaheen room to allow for a buffer office in the instance that one of our offices has to be deep cleaned. We can potentially move staff to the Essex Shaheen room. We have it set up for phones, Wi-Fi to make a seamless transition for any residents or level of service interaction. With respect to staffing, we've accepted voluntary layoffs for 4 weeks. What that's allowed us to do, it's allowed some staff to be off and allowed us to redeploy other staff in the interim. So we're looking at shifting things around to keep everybody functioning and performing and sorry, we got some stuff to be able to continue, moving the business of the town that way. So really that's it in terms of the things I wanted to discuss on COVID updates. Are there any questions from council?
Any questions from council? Councillor Bondy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, possibly to our CAO or to Mr. Sweet, our Director of Community Services. So I do know that we are getting correspondence from the province saying that marinas can begin opening preparations, boats can be put in and secured to docks. So I'm wondering, like, I know we don't typically open for a couple more weeks, but I'm wondering what that's going to look like in terms of staffing, because typically we have summer students at the marina, and now I don't know, are we bringing back some summer students for that? Because does that put a hiccup with the union employees? As you've probably heard too, there's our community, really, if we're a fishing community, they're anxious to get into that water, to know that the light is at the end of the tunnel, which I think it's coming. But what does it look like in terms of staffing? Are we going to have a staffless marina, or are we going to bring in summer students? That's my first question on marina related, and then I do have another COVID related question after that, please.
Go ahead, Chris, you want to answer?
I'll do, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead,
Basically, open up the harbor. It's going to be 2 phases we're looking at. The first is the ramp. Easy just to open it up so boats can just come at a time. The slip holders will be the second part of that, and that's more where we need our staffing to do the services and that. We have met with the union to start those negotiations this morning, and how we're going to do that. I think we would be able to get summer students again just for the harbor right now, at least, so we can get that up and going. It's not confirmed, but we started discussions.
Good. Thank you, Doug. Councillor Bondy, you had another question?
Yes, please. Through you, Mr. Mayor, perhaps probably to Mr. Sweet, our community services again. There has been a desire from a few musicians in our community to do what they do and tune up the parks, but do it virtually. Is there something that the ACT committee or Ms. Cakebread and yourself and a few musicians can work together towards, where they use our town Facebook and they play on it, and they can receive tips online? Like, it's been done. We have Max Marshall in Ward 4 who's done it before, and it just might be something that we can continue virtually. Is there opportunity for us to have discussions on that?
Go ahead, Doug, if you want to.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Cakebread is working with our clerk right now to set up an ACT committee meeting, and that is one of the items they want to discuss. So that was emails that we received have been brought forward to Cynthia, and it's going to bring it forward to the ACT to discuss not only online, but if restrictions start to be removed, gatherings, how we can also address that for Tune Up the Parks.
Thank you, Doug. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just because we're in this new age, sitting at home and everybody's on the internet, it's really become evident to me as a councillor the discrepancies in internet usage, availability, and service throughout our municipality. So, I know there's not a lot we can really do right now, but I think after this, I think we should get an internet strategy together. We and take an aggressive approach like Amherstburg is with some provider, and just see if we can make sure that all pockets of our municipality are covered with internet, and really take the lead on that. That's my last comment. Thank you.
Councillor, if I can just add to that, I think you're well aware we've been working on that for quite some time now. We have been meeting with different companies to offer internet, and I know our CEO, myself, and I think the deputy mayor himself, we have met with different providers. So we've been working on this for quite some time. So just to give you a heads up. Any other questions from council? Councillor Vander.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, further to Councillor Bondy's question, I would like to have a discussion about the internet. The problem has been ongoing for years. In fact, it was on my election pamphlet. This isn't new. I've written online about it several times. I know there are some companies negotiating with the town, and I'd like to this discussion to be a little bit more open. I'd like to take part in it. When's that going to happen?
Thank you. Did you want to answer that now? Okay. Anybody else from council? There was somebody else. Councillor Bjorkman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you and to the Director of Community Services with regard to the harbor. So I didn't quite catch exactly what you said there as far as the phases go. So I understand that right now we're allowed to put boats in their slips, but nobody's allowed to go to their boat that's in the slip. And then I heard you something about opening up the ramp. And right now, that's not part of the game plan. But right now we can allow people to put boats in the slips, but then we would need to have some sort of attendant. So I'm not sure just what our time is. We've got people asking us pretty regular now about when that'll happen. So could you just revisit that and just be a little more clear for me on what it is that we're planning to do?
Thank you, Doug. If you can answer that, please.
You, Mr. Mayor. To put your boats in the slips, we did have clarification. That's mostly for marinas that are selling boats. So not like us where we have lease out those seasonal slip holders. What I'm talking about phases is once the restrictions are lifted that we can open it up, we can open up the gate and people can trailer their boat to use the ramp. We don't need staff. We can do that right away. In terms of our seasonal slip holders, where there could be fuel, pump outs, other services where we need some staffing, that would be kind of the second phase where it may take a week or so to get geared up for that. But to open up the boat ramp where people can trailer their boat, we can have that in place relatively quickly. That answers your question, Councillor Bjorkman.
Councillor Bjorkman, does that answer for you? Okay. Anybody else from council? Okay, seeing none. Could I have a mover to receive the report, please? Councillor Bjorkman, and seconder, please. Councillor Bowman. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Right. 8.2 on this evening's agenda is Community Services Report 2020-04 Essex Fun Fest update. That said report be received and that council approves or supports the Essex Fun Fest Committee's recommendation to cancel the 2020 Essex Fun Fest.
Thank you. That's a sad day for us, I can say that. So any questions from council on this one? Seeing none, I need a motion to receive it, the report. Need a motion, please. Councillor Vander Doelen and Councillor Bowman. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you.
Item 11 this evening, item 10, any update from County Council this evening?
Not from we have a meeting on Wednesday, but Deputy Mayor Meloche, did you have anything?
There's nothing that that involves the County of Essex, other There's a lot of minutes and there's some tendering, but there's nothing that really involves the town of Essex that we should discuss.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other questions?
11.1 on this evening's agenda. Correspondence to be received, that all of the correspondence listed in 11.1 be received and where indicated to further share.
Any questions on any of the correspondence tonight? Councillor Verbeek.
Okay, thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. I have on a couple of the correspondence, but I couldn't see which bundle this was in. This one is about the community safety and well-being. The Solicitor General has extended the deadline for the communities to get this big project done. That was, passed on to all the municipalities in the province back in January 2019. Now, I know our community has decided, our municipality is going to neighbor with other municipalities and do a joint submit a joint together. We're going to do the community safety and well-being, and then we'll each have, I believe we're going to have an appendix. I'm looking for you, Chris, to comment when I'm done my question. And I'm just wondering, I know some municipalities across the province have been done, some haven't started. They're all at different, places in this. And I'm wondering where we're at, if we're actually going to put on hold and utilize the extension that has been given by the Solicitor General, or if we're almost ready to go. And I'm hoping that you'll be able to comment, Mr. Nepszy. Thanks.
Yeah, through your worship, I'm going to pass this along to our Deputy CAO, Doug Sweet. He's been tackling this file for me. He's had several meetings with the city and the county members that are looking to partner on this. So Doug, if you can, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, so the town of Essex, like our surrounding municipalities, a partner with the county and also the city of Windsor to do a group submission. The city of Windsor is taking the lead in terms of they have the staff and the resources. So they've already had 2 meetings with the group. The third meeting is when the COVID came out and they were kind of waiting to see if there would be an extension. So they've started the process, but now that this has come out, and I think probably in a few months, once the COVID-19 is over, or at least we're starting to move forward, we'll start gathering again to start working on the submission. But it is moving forward as a joint venture, as Councillor Verbeek said, with the county and the city of Windsor.
Thank you, Doug. Is that okay, Councillor Verbeek? Does that answer? Okay, great. Any other questions on any of the correspondence? Councillor Bondy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the same correspondence, I know that council gave support to our administration and gave direction in order for them to go forward with that community policing survey, which unfortunately COVID hit and we had to stall that as well. But in the correspondence from the community safety well-being, it says that alternative options to ongoing planning efforts, as though virtual engagement, webinars, teleconferences, and online surveys. I'm wondering if we could still do our police survey with our residents, maybe not this month or the next month, but near the end of COVID. And then that gives us information that is specific to the municipality of Essex that we can bring forward to this joint committee for part of this plan. I think it would be just really good to have in our back pocket when we're looking at this regional plan, so that we get ahead of any specific Essex issues there are in terms of gaps or policing. Maybe residents say we have enough police or not enough. And I think it's an important piece of the puzzle that council already gave permission to go forward with. So I think we should follow through on that.
Thank you. Councillor, who was next? Councillor Denonville, you had your hand up?
Yeah. Yes, but I'm going to pass. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Verbeek.
Okay, I also want to get clarification from the clerk if this bundle of letters we're receiving also includes the one about from Grey County about the wineries. But just to back it up, one more about the community safety and well-being. Yes, you may remember back when I had, when council had passed the motion to get the police survey, that was part of what had motivated me to drive for that was at the convention, our OAPSB was pushing us to try and do these surveys prior to that report. So yeah, I would like to see if we could get that done before our, the survey or the well-being report is completed. Also, I just had a quick comment on the winery letter, and I don't remember if it's in this bundle of correspondence or the next one, because the screen flashed so fast.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the Grey County resolution in support of the 100% excise tax exemption, that's included in this bundle under correspondence from the town of Amherst. Right.
Okay, so through you, Mr. Mayor, I also wanted to comment on that. I'm wondering if there's an appetite from council to do more than just receive. As in support of our wineries, I would like to see us write a letter of support, do a little more than just receive this, to show our appreciation and our support of our local wineries. I think that a letter of support would be a good way to go with this.
I think you'd have to make a motion there, Councillor.
I'm willing to do that. I can make a motion that we support and receive the letter from Grey County and forward our own of support. Okay.
Good. Who's the seconder on that? Did we have a seconder?
I was.
Councillor Denonville. Any other questions on this one? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Any other questions on any of the correspondence? Councillor Vander.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. I see there's correspondence from the Ministry of Transportation regarding the Highway 3 widening project. I wanted to know if there's any indication of, or better indication of when the work will begin.
Councillor, that's next. That's on the next item.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was part of the correspondence package that we were supporting.
No, next item.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I need a motion to receive the rest of the correspondence. So 11.1. Councillor Bowman and seconder, please. Councillor Vander. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Your Worship, can I just speak to the?
Chris just wants to speak. Our CAO.
Thank you, Worship. Through you, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the policing survey. I think it ties, we'll have a better discussion when we move into the discussion on the satisfaction survey for the residents. So I'd like to, I know you didn't get the answers you were looking for, I don't think. So I'd like to talk about that a little bit more when we get to that notice of motion, if that's okay with council. I think it fits better because there's pros and cons and there's the different type of surveys, right? I mean, what Tecumseh did was more of a, a poll where you hire a company to ask those questions and you get a better cross section as opposed to an online survey, which garners different results. But again, we'll have a better discussion when we get to that notice of motion section.
Thank you, Chris.
11.2.1 on the agenda, that the correspondence from the Ministry of Transportation requesting that council pass a bylaw to close South Talbot Road at County Road 8 and modify access on Victoria Avenue at Highway 3 for the Highway 3 expansion be received and supported, and that council supports a bylaw to close and modify access at those intersections upon completion of the 2 months notice from the MTO.
Thank you. Councillor Vander, you had a question.
Why don't you let Kevin, if you can let Kevin speak? Girard?
Yeah. You know what, Councillor, let's have our director speak on this item first, okay? And then we'll come back. Councillor, okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So basically, this correspondence is a piece of housekeeping that the MTO needs to take care of as through the expansion of the Highway 3 project that you're all aware of. basically what they need to do is they need a commitment from the municipality that we will close these roads when they need them. It will officially need to be passed by bylaw in order for us to do that. But really, they're just looking for a commitment at this point. So as Rob had mentioned, there's actually two intersections, the South Talbot Road at County Road 8, the Victoria Ave and North Malden Road and Highway 3 intersection. But there's also the County Road 8 and Pinkerton Side Road intersection that would also need to be closed to take care of this project. So like Rob had mentioned, right now we're looking for a resolution from council, or the MTO is looking for a resolution from council to commit to the closure of these roads to take care of this project. And then after a 2-month notification period, they'll be looking for a bylaw from us in the future to further commit to the closure of these intersections.
Thank you.
So moved.
Yeah. Go ahead. We had a question from Councillor Denonville first here.
Yes, I'd like to know, Mr. Nepszy, is there any better idea of when they're going to start? The last we heard that they were probably going to start preloading the earth for the overpasses this fall. Is that still likely? Are there any other advancements? We're glad to see the work is continuing.
Yeah. Through your worship, I'm going to pass this along to Kevin as well. He's been in, he's kind of taken over the file for me with the MTO. He's had several meetings already in his short time here with the MTO. They are definitely in a pressure situation, so I'll let Kevin speak a little more on the details that he knows in terms of the preloading and the construction.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yep, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I've had a few meetings with the MTO regarding this project. One of the big focuses right now is to try and clean up some of the utility conflicts that'll come with the project that they're doing. You are correct that they want to start preloading for the actual structure of the overpass. Timelines are, the MTO is really pushing to get this project completed and underway. Like this piece of correspondence, there's a lot of housekeeping that they need to do. I think that they're looking to have the utility conflicts and the preloading started in the fall, like you had mentioned, Councillor Vander.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Meloche.
Thank you, through you, your worship. So I'm not going to vote opposed to this, although I'm a little bit frustrated all along, and I was supporting the idea that there'd at least be an on-ramp from North Malden going towards Kingsville, from the west, traffic coming from the west, or even from the town of Essex, to come up Victoria, the residents of McGregor, anything that's in Colchester North. We all know that North Malden Road is one of the key routes and has the heaviest amount of traffic of any of the roads that we have going in that direction. And here we're going to cut it off. We're going to make those residents drive through the town, halfway through the town, cross over through the town, and then come back out of the town to get onto number 3 if they want to head towards Kingsville or Leamington. So this is the one thing that all along, right from the very beginning, that I've been opposed to. I'm not opposed to the widening of number 3 highway. And if this is what we have to do in order to make it happen, as Mr. Nepszy told me years ago, we don't want to be the reason for holding this project up. So I'm going to vote in favor of moving forward with this tonight. The one thing that I'm finding surprising tonight, though, that I didn't previously know, are they actually going to close off Pinkerton? I thought there was going to be a road extension to get Pinkerton to go back onto County Road 8. Can I have that answered?
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Pinkerton is being realigned at County Road 8, so it'll be actually extended to the south to intersect with County Road 8, just a little bit more south of Highway 3. So it still will be connected to County Road 8.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. That makes me feel a lot better. But I'm still of the opinion, and I think even after this project is done, someday, I believe you'll see that there'll be a lane for North Malden to connect onto number 3 highway, and they keep saying that the distances aren't correct for that to happen. There's not enough room to merge. I can't believe there's not enough room to merge between Victoria and North Malden all the way down to County Road 23, the Arnertown line, It just doesn't make sense to me. They just don't want to do it, in my opinion. But like I said, I'm not going to vote against this, but I just want to make sure that everybody understands that I don't think it's the best solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Garon, you had a question. Councillor Garon, can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I hear what Deputy Mayor Meloche is saying. I totally agree as well. Chris and I have had some conversations, and I know we're a little late in the game to make any possible changes, and I won't be opposed to the widening of it it's going to be for safety. But the real reason that they want to close off that intersection is because they feel it's too close between Maidstone Town Line, County Road 8, and Arner Town Line. And I agree, the light there is a little bit too close, but I still wish we could have an access. I think the amount of traffic that uses Victoria out of Essex to go either into Windsor or into Leamington, to bring them on those side roads, the South Talbot roads, I just don't see all that traffic working through that residential area. And I know Hanlon's going to get extended over to Gosfield Town Line, so there'll be some backtracking and there'll be some different routes people have to do, but it will be an inconvenience. And I wish we were a little earlier into this and we could. So I guess my question would be, if we were to oppose the bylaw, what would it hold the whole project up, or would we be able to fight for access now as opposed to later? I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm going to go to our CAO.
Yeah, through your worship, thank you. Yeah, it would hold it up, absolutely. I mean, tonight is the preferred solution has been approved by council years ago, right? And we've had, this has been, I think, 10 or 12 years that I've been working on the file. I don't know how many PICs, we're pushing 3 or 4 public information sessions with 2 different consultants. So this solution has been bought in by council as a body, maybe not individual councillors, admittedly, but council as a body has approved the solution that they have done all their design and everything to at this point. So to deny this bylaw or to deny where we're at this point isn't going to change the design at all. All it's going to do is we're going to be the ones that are the reason that this highway is not expanded, because we're trying to go back on something that we've approved years ago. So I know that you've got councillors that don't agree with that solution. I can see them shaking their heads right now, but that's where we're at with this process. This process is moving forward with the solution that was approved. We're into the stages of the dotting I's, crossing T's to allow this to be constructed. And anything that, I guess, anything that puts a hindrance on that will potentially affect timelines.
Council, I understand the frustrations, but we've been waiting years and years and years for the extension of number 3 highway, and we sure don't want to jeopardize it and delay it any longer. Councillor Bowman.
Yes, a couple of comments to make on the situation. As some of the other councillors have said, that they're not thrilled with some of the aspects of it, and I think that's always the case. It's been a long, drawn-out process for many years, and I can't remember when we first started talking about it. It's been that far back. But this particular proposal has come through with a lot of provincial funding coming into some of the municipal aspect of it. And I'm talking about the extension of Hanlon. They've got some money coming into that, and other areas like that it's helping the town. And we're not getting everything we wanted on the widening of the highway, as Richard mentioned, the on-ramp at Victoria. Those are things that we've had to give up that they have been really sticklers on. I'm not sure 100% why, but I'm sure they've had their reasons. And even the County Road 8, number 3 intersection, it's going to be difficult, I think, in some areas. Hopefully overall it will improve as we move forward. And I think this has been a case where you give a bit and take a bit. And where the province is given is more on the financial side of being able to do some of the changes that we have to do internally in the town to work with the widening of the bypass. That's been the win-win side of it. The lose is we don't get some of the accesses that we've been accustomed to. Long term, I'm not sure how it'll work it out, but I think we waited so long, it's time to get moving on it. So I'll support the proposal that's coming forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Denonville.
Were you saying my name, I hope?
Yes.
Okay. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I fully support this bylaw, and in fact, I support the closure of this middle intersection, despite the fact that hundreds, perhaps 1,000 people really hate the idea because it's going to inconvenience their commuting patterns. But the fact is, this is a major commuting route for 30,000 people in the county. And if it's a little more difficult for 1,000 people who live off Fairview and in Colchester North, well, that's the way it goes. But there's 29,000 other people who are going to have a better life because of the removal of this intersection. Now, I've spent enough time interviewing traffic engineers over the years to know a little bit about the way they think. And they don't like to have this many intersections close together because it increases the number of accidents. So by removing that intersection, we're going to be reducing OPP calls and our costs there. We'll be reducing fire and rescue calls and our costs there. We'll be reducing accident damages for the dozens of incidents that otherwise would have occurred if we not closed that intersection. And if you believe that CO2 is a pollutant, I don't, but most people do. It'll reduce a gigantic amount of CO2 emissions because cars won't be stopping every 5 minutes at that intersection. And this is one of the, in fact, one of the driving scientific basis behind closing such intersections. And that ship has already sailed. The society has already agreed to that. So we're going to be closing intersections whether we like it or not. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else? Councillor Bjorkman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just a quick comment. I'm in favor of closing the intersection. Mainly, I think it's actually worked out to the right amount of time now that we've purchased the property for the sports fields. We're going to have a controlled access down Victoria under that overpass that's going to be 50 kilometers an hour, and there's not going to be a ramp that's coming off of or onto that highway, which is just something else our kids would have to cross on their bikes to get to the sports fields. So I think it's taken this long, but some other things have fallen into place for us. And I think it just makes it safer. It extends our town. It extends how far we can control the speed that if people are traveling, and it opens up new areas for development for us. I expect Victoria to be a residential street going underneath that overpass and out to the next development in Essex. So yeah, 100% I'm in favor of not having access to the highway from there. That this is really going to benefit us as a town for growth and as a town for an ability for people with active transportation to get out of the town and back into the town and access our trails. So it's a win-win as far as I'm concerned for all cases. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Good point. Councillor Garon.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm not opposed to the intersection being closed. What I'm opposed to is the fact there is no access or anything like that. I mean, it's called a bypass for a reason. We have 3 accesses right now. Now we're going down to 2. It just gives people a reason to bypass us. And I don't think our roads right now, the alternative routes, adding the additional traffic from Victoria on the Maidstone, if you've been in town in Essex Ward 1 at the intersection at Talbot and Maidstone Town line at any given time during the day, it's backed up as it is now, and you're having to cut through residents. You're just adding more traffic to that intersection. I just don't think our roads right now are ready for it. Maybe up the road they will be ready for it. But right now they're not. And South Talbot, I still don't see that as an alternative road. It's still got to go through residences anyways. Make some turns up by the McDonald's. I just don't see it. But like I said, like as far as the intersection goes and the safety and the double lanes and all that, I'm all for it. Just wish we had some access onto it.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor Meloche.
Thank you, through your worship. I just wanted to clarify. I'm not saying I don't want to see that intersection closed. I do not want a traffic light there to impede and slow down traffic. But what I'm talking about is, and there's more than 1,000 residents. It's going to affect probably 4,000 or 5,000 residents that live in that direction, west of the central part of, west of number 3 highway. And so what I'm suggesting is that there just be an on-ramp, because those residents are going to pass. What we're suggesting is that we still pass that park, regardless of whether there's a ramp there or not. We're suggesting that traffic continue on down Victoria up to Hanlon and cross over on Hanlon over to Arnertown line, and then come back west on Arnertown line to get on number 3 to head to Leamington or Kingsville. That's the preferred route. And I'm saying, no, we shouldn't be dragging all of those persons from west of number 3 highway, outside of town, through all these residential neighborhoods to get back onto number 3 to head towards Leamington and Kingsville. To me, it just doesn't make any sense. So, but that's the way it was set up. And, it got us money to help build Hanlon Street. So I guess it's good. That's what we're going to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Bondy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, perhaps maybe, I don't know, but maybe to Doug Sweet, in terms of, I'm thinking of the fire master plan and closing access points like other councillors have said. And, we may get less calls for less accidents, but how is our fire department going to respond to the Victoria intersection area? Have we overlaid closing that intersection with fire response times? And do we see any safety concerns there? Or do we see just as fast of response times? Thank you.
I'm sure that they've studied it already, but Doug, can you respond to that?
Sure, Mr. Mayor. To some parts of the question, Fire has already looked at it in terms of through County Road 8 or Gossville Town Line to get out. So they have looked at that. In terms of a quicker response, they actually feel it may be quicker to get out to McGregor back, not having to cross a highway right now. So they feel that may expedite if they have to have, say, Station 2 come into Ward 1. That would make it quicker, actually.
Good. Thank you, Doug. Any other questions? So I need a motion. Councillor Verbeek, you had a question?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a comment like everyone else. I'm glad we're all getting to share our thoughts on this. I myself was a little bit disappointed that we're going to lose the ability to get on and off there for a number of reasons that have already been covered by other councillors. But the fact of the matter is that I'm going to, as we probably all should, vote in support of this so that the MTO can get moving. Because if we don't, we're going to be putting a big snag in something we've been trying to move forward for a long time. So I'm going to make the motion that we support this to move it forward.
Support.
Who was the seconder there? Councillor Bowman?
I was.
Who was? Deputy Mayor? Deputy Mayor, you were a seconder, okay. All in favor?
Vander Doelen is.
Carried. Thank you.
Item 12 on this evening's agenda, committee meeting minutes. That the minutes of the Funfest Committee meeting held April 22nd be received and adopted as circulated.
Need a mover, please, on this one? Councillor Bowman and Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Item 15 on the agenda, notices of motion. The following notice of motion was first presented at the April 20th meeting and is now being brought forward for consideration this evening. Councillor Bondy, as moved by Councillor Bondy, that the town of Essex do an online satisfaction survey similar to the one recently completed by the town of Tecumseh to look at the quality of life core services and to see if the town is going in the right direction. Would need a seconder.
Need a seconder for this? Deputy Mayor Meloche. Go ahead, Councillor Bondy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is something that in Ward 4 I've gone door to door before in the past, and in the past we've talked about doing something as a council. So I kind of wanted to get ahead of it, and I did talk to staff members, and I do think that 2020 is probably not the year for it. But if we're going to go forward and do any type of public survey, then I think we should budget potentially for some costs in 2021. And we can even, debate it and budget. But sometimes if you don't enter items early enough, they don't make it into the budget at all. So it's just a first step in a conversation of, does this council have any appetite to do one of these surveys? And I read some of the notes from administration about online surveys, the digital divide, and I do like the randomized phone calls. I think that's really great. So I think that's one tool. And in Harrow, I go door to door to every home and with a paper copy, and I have them drop it off in a drop box. And I'm prepared to do that again if council doesn't want to move forward with a survey. One thing that I think I want to make note of, and we'll see how far this gets, but I really don't feel that this should replace the survey on policing. At first, I did see some benefits to putting the surveys together, and I know our administration have some comments on that, but I really don't want to jeopardize a survey that our council has already voted on and given permission for administration to go forward with that. I'm thinking more of like a quality of life survey, to see if the town's going in the right direction. And 2021 isn't a bad year to see, are we meeting our goals on our strategic plan, and how happy are our residents? So that's just some of my thoughts. And if it goes forward, it goes forward, and we can always put it in the budget and debate it then. Thank you.
Can I have?
Go ahead.
Through your worship, I'm gonna, our strategic communications manager is with us tonight, Alex Denonville, and I want him to speak to that. He's in tune and in line with the various surveys and pros and cons of each. So I'd like him to provide some information to council, and then we can go from there. Alex?
Thank you. Yeah, through the chair. A randomized telephone poll is really like the gold standard of community surveys. The data you get from a randomized poll is going to be much more representative of the feelings of the entire town. So you can really, the idea of a sample size and randomized poll it comes from academia. So academics who want to reach conclusions based on not polling the entire population, but polling a portion of the population. So they say you need, if it's a population of 20,000, you need between 350 to 400 randomized survey respondents. That allows you to reach conclusions or be more confident in the conclusions that come from the survey than something that's just voluntary. So I don't think the suggestion was to replace the policing survey, but perhaps to roll in some policing questions into a randomized survey. Just for council and administration, it would likely provide a more accurate representation of what the thoughts of the community are. But absolutely, the ability to do an online survey for policing this year and then go into a citizen survey next year, that's completely open, obviously.
Thank you, Alex.
We have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, we had a motion, so I need all in favor of that motion? All in favor of the motion, please. Got to see hands. Got to see some hands. Morley or Councillor Bowman and Councillor Vander.
Councillor Verbeek had her hand up to speak.
Yeah. Just before we vote, I'm hoping we can hear the motion again. And I do want to say, I like the suggestion of Alex that after we've completed and have results from our police survey, when we do put out a customer satisfaction survey in 2021, we could roll in some questions that with information we garner from our police service survey. But I'd like to, before we vote, hear the motion again, because it's kind of unclear.
We'll read it again.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the notice of motion, or the motion on the floor, is that the town of Essex do an online satisfaction survey similar to the one recently completed by the town of Tecumseh, to look at quality of life, core services, and to see if the town is going in the right direction.
Mr. Mayor, may I do a friendly amendment?
Go ahead, Councillor.
That we put in the 2021 budget dollars to be debated, so that we can debate it.
Yeah,
if that's okay.
Is that good with you, Councillor Verbeek? Yes, that's fine. And Deputy Mayor, you had something to add?
He was the seconder.
Oh, you were the seconder. Okay. All in favor?
Councillor Garon had that.
Councillor Garon, did you have a question too?
Yeah, the motion speaks to online. It doesn't say anything about the phone call method. Can we just put in there either or something along those lines?
I agree.
Okay, either or, is that okay, Councillor Verbeek? That's okay. Okay, that's fine.
Question?
Deputy Mayor.
There's no mention of timing in the in that motion. When are we looking to do it?
She made the friendly amendment.
Yeah, what was the date on that?
2021.
Yeah, 2021, Deputy Mayor. 2021 budget.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Councillor Vander.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I don't know this. I don't think this motion is accurate. I'm in favor of getting political opinion, and I am possibly in favor of spending $20,000 to get it. But I'm very much opposed to doing an online survey, which is more misleading than it is illuminating, because everybody knows those systems, they could be gamed by determined little groups of people to make themselves look like they're a majority. And I think an online survey would be damaging, but a professional survey, a real survey, could be helpful. But we can't just mix them up like that. Get one or the other that I'm opposed to. But I think a professional survey might be helpful. In fact, one of the best polling companies in the country is right here at McGregor. Maybe we could hire them.
Okay, I'll have, thank you, Councillor. I'll have Alex respond to that. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, just a bit more context. So what Tecumseh does, they host an online survey, which is voluntary, open to anybody. The results of that survey are reported separately from that of the phone poll. So when they engage the phone polling company, they get the results of that randomized survey separately from the online survey. So, I mean, it's up to council to draw the conclusions as they see fit from either survey, but yeah, they would definitely be separate.
Does that answer your question, Councillor? Okay. Anybody else? Councillor Bowman.
Just looking at the motion again, probably to take the word online out would make it a better presentation to go in for the budget of next year. And as that rolls out, then we can put in the fine tuning of what we really want, but at least it'll be in the budget.
Online. So it's got to be, yeah, Councillor Bondy, I think it was. Was it Councillor Bondy? Yep. Go ahead. Are you okay with it?
Oh, yeah, I don't have any more comments. I think those are great suggestions.
Okay, great. And I'm going to call a motion. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
15.1.2, as added during adoption of the agenda this evening, is a notice of motion from Councillor Bondy. It's for presentment only this evening and will be brought back to the May 19th regular council meeting for consideration. The motion is that council bring forward the item listed as shoreline protection of public property from the mayor's list of roundtable items to discuss potential liability, budget considerations, shoreline protection of public property policy, timelines, and fallen trees policy during this time of historic high water levels. Once again, for presentment and consideration coming to the May 19th meeting.
Thank you, Rob.
Item 16, any reports and announcements from the council members this evening?
Start with Councillor Denonville. Anything tonight?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Councillor Bowman? You're okay? They're switching all over here now. Deputy Mayor Meloche.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing tonight.
Councillor Bondy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you to our economic development department and other staff that helped at Town Hall to get this business directory online about who's open and doing what during this COVID pandemic. I think it's a really handy tool for our citizens to pull up, and it's really easy for them to join too if they're not there. So much appreciated. Thank you.
Councillor Verbeek.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I did reach out to our youth counselors. Would you like me to give those their brief comments now?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, Eva just said, Eva Hoffman just wanted to let everybody know she's doesn't have a report this week, but because she's very, very busy with her high school work. And Cameron Susie just asked me to tell everybody to stay safe and stay at home if you can.
Thank you, Councillor.
And nothing from me.
Okay, Councillor Bjorkman. You're good? Who did I miss? Councillor Garon, did I get you? What's happening here? You guys are switching all over the place. I got everybody.
Nothing from me.
I got everybody. I just wanna say one thing. I wanna thank our staff, especially our CAO, for keeping us updated on the COVID and what's happening in our own municipality here and amongst our employees. And really, let's just stay safe. I think it's a little down the road yet. We're moving in the right direction, it looks like, but I think I'm a little concerned about if we speed it up too much. I know there's businesses opening now in Windsor and that, and I spoke to a couple of the mayors today, and we're all in the same agreement. We're a little concerned on the way it's going. I think we had a bunch of new cases in Windsor yesterday and some more deaths. So I just telling council and our residents out there to be very, very safe and very cautious. So thank you, and that's all I have.
Item 17, Mr. Mayor, is bylaws. Bylaw 1909 for third reading to confirm the proceedings from the April 20th meeting.
Mover, please. Councillor Bjorkman and Councillor Bowman. All in favor. Did you have a question, Councillor Denonville? Did you have a question? No. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
For three readings this evening, bylaw 1891, being a bylaw to enter into a collective agreement between the Corporation of the Town of Essex and the Canadian Union of Public Employees, Local 702.3.
Have a mover, please. Deputy Mayor Meloche and Councillor Bjorkman. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Bylaw 1910, also for three readings this evening, being a bylaw to establish tax rates and additional charges for municipal, county, and education purposes for 2020.
Mover, please. Councillor Garon and Councillor Bowman. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you.
And bylaw 1911 for 2 readings this evening, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of this May 4th, 2020 regular council meeting.
Mover, please. Councillor Verbeek and Councillor Vander. All in favor? It's carried. And I need a motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor Meloche and Councillor Vander. Thank you. Thank you, Council.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.